In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade.
That's what we were told. Most Americans never believed Lee Oswald was the lone gunman, for excellent reasons. In fact, there were at least 6 shooters who fired from 8 to 10 shots or more who are identified here. We have, finally, the solution to the greatest murder mystery in history, laid out for the world to see, proof after proof after proof. Photos were faked, the body was changed, x-rays were altered, the home movies were fixed. 15 experts contribute to a 529-page book with 1,037 photos and diagrams in black and white and color.
Hi, this is Gary King. If you'd like JFK, who, how, and why, and would like to support the new JFK show, then go to patriotradiobooks.com. That's patriotradiobooks.com.
WGSO.
Ladies and gentlemen, the last president of the United States of America.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy.
Battle of New Orleans Radio with your hosts Nathan Lawrenson, Caleb Hitt, and Goyam on 990 WGSO.
Planning their disaster and doom. The very moment you pop out of your mom's womb, you're a sovereign king ready to blossom and bloom. However, things change for the absolute worst when you issue the.
All right, we are here at Battle of New Orleans Radio, June 21st, 2017, downtown New Orleans. And we've been scared to, a lot of people left the city thinking there was going to be some big storm. Nothing happened. Who knows, Hart might be at play, guys, huh? What do y'all think?
Yeah, it's
unusual this early in the year to see this kind of rain display here.
Yeah, well, it's nothing out of the ordinary. Look at all the flooding and rain, we had last year. So, it's par for the course here in South Louisiana. The news cycle has been extremely heavy since the NBA Finals, has ended like you predicted, Goyam. So just as the same as last year and the year before. So we're right on cue with, just these world events. We have this young man that came back from, that we went and got from North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So he came back, he dies. I believe there's something more to this story for sure, because the media,
There's too many people posting on Facebook right now saying, well, the Rothschild banks are not in Iran, Syria, and North Korea yet. That's the real reason why we're going to war with these countries. And they wanted to make an example possibly of this guy, maybe. I don't know. To be like, look, if you go over there like Dennis Rodman did, and you start aligning with these regimes that go against the Zog or the Zionist-occupied New World Order, or whatever you want to call it, you're going to get penalized. It's a possibility. I don't know. I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah, it's highly possible. My hunch, it's just a hunch, that he's probably some sort of operative.
Okay, Nathan, who we got in studio today?
We have our good buddy, Richie.
Good evening.
How you doing, Richie?
Long-time contributor, listener.
Very well. Thank you all. Thank you for having me on the show tonight.
Then we have Mr. Machiavelli. We erected him from the grave.
The spirit of Machiavelli.
Yeah, I'm right here.
How you doing, man? Welcome. So we have a loaded studio tonight. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation. So look, call us up 504-556-9696.
And listen, reason why Richie's been a long-time listener, contributor. He's helped us clean the monuments. He's been there. It's sad to see the monuments go. It is what it is. Mr. Machiavelli has been on the scene with a lot of this monument stuff in New Orleans. Now we're seeing this happen across the nation. Lake Eola Park, they just took a monument down the other day. I think it was Monday they took it down. It's a nationwide global initiative They're pushing to erase this United Nations Erase the Hate program, like Nathan was talking about a couple months ago, and you're seeing it across the board. But Mr. Machiavelli has been front and center with a lot of the events that have been going on in New Orleans with the monuments from Jefferson Davis to Lee. What happened to these time capsules, guys? I mean, what happened to them? I mean, that's just we've seen pictures of these mass marauders taking these boxes out, and no one knows where they're at.
Maybe Walter Isaacson's like sleeping with them at night. He's petting their their heads. I don't know.
Wait, Gore, are you asking where physically are the statues, or
what
happened?
There were time capsules in a lot of the right, Mr. Machiavelli?
Yeah, there were time capsules in each monument.
Yeah,
which are not accounted for as of now.
No, not at this time, but there's been some people, some historians that I've spoken with said that the time capsules are still there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe they're there just about as much as the stolen cash from the drug dealers. I remember there was
2.3 trillion.
Yeah,
how about the gold in Fort Knox?
Yeah, that's there. There was $250,000 that just vanished out of the New Orleans evidence room. I remember there was that one young man. The police kicked in his door, said he was a marijuana dealer, and they arrested him, and he beat the charge. And he had like $30,000 liquid cash in his apartment or his home. They took that, and he never got it back. Even though the judge ordered evidence to give it back, they didn't have it. They couldn't find it.
Just disappeared, huh?
Yeah, it just disappeared right in somebody's Christmas tree.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, look, I'm all for Blue Lives Matter and the police, supporting the police. They're just a pawn in this game. The same with the military. They're pushing for this war in Syria, and of course we're there. And now we took down that fighter plane, and now we took a shot at this Iranian vessel. And now, I mean, they're drumming up this war machine for Iran,
North Korea. That's why I question this whole narrative about, this young man. It could be a whole array of things. This young man, the whole story could be 1,000% legit, 1,000%. Or he could have been some government operative, or he could have been stealing something else, or it's a fake news story.
Same with Scalise. We don't know if that's a false flag or if that's really organic. There's a lot of question marks. The timing to me was questionable. But then, like Caleb Hitt reported in his video
about the pedophilia,
he might come on the second hour talking about it. He was supposedly Scalise was tied in with exposing this Pizzagate stuff, and maybe they took him out because of that.
What is the source of that information?
Caleb Hitt did a report on this. Nathan, you know the story here.
Yeah, he was going. I'll have to pull up. Maybe we'll play the video after break.
Well, has Steve Scalise ever had anything published or on record about this?
Yes, there was a video that he released a week before discussing child trafficking and pedophilia, and it was discussing how this is taking place in every town, every city. Basically, and nowhere is exempt. So, but here's the deal. You don't get, why he knows that? Because he's gotten that high in Washington at a quick pace, because Washington's ran by an elite pedophile group.
Well, by elites, that's for sure.
No,
and assorted other, deficiencies.
That's right. You go back to the Bush-Reagan, I say Bush-Reagan first because Bush ran that White House. Mm-hmm. He was, Mr. CIA himself, Mr. Internationalist, New World Order himself. You go back to him, there was little boys. I mean, this is on record. There's been books written on this that, they had the D.C. Madam, the male version of the D.C. Madam, and Henry Vincent and others that were running. Henry Vincent wasn't running the boys, but he knew the other Madam Service that were running the boys to the White House for George H.W. Bush and many others. So, there is an elite. There's so much evidence of this. You look at there's just so much child trafficking. There's been CIA agents reporting in Washington, D.C. that there's Saudi Arabian places of business that they go in there. You can buy children off the menu, So, and these CIA agents, these were high-level guys that were, CIA for decades. That put their name on the record saying this.
You want to see the creepiness? Go look up some Olsen twin videos from the Full House days.
Oh, yeah.
These old music videos of them singing about pizza.
Yeah.
It's creepy. Like, more sausage, please. And then, and Bob Saget's right there, like, rubbing his hands. together. What
about
it's like creepy as hell.
Todd Bridges and Gary Coleman, different strokes. That whole cast was involved with the whole cast got raped. Gary Coleman got raped. Todd Bridges got raped by the producers of that whole show.
Man!
I mean, dude, look, this whole world order is ran by pedophilia.
So Steve Scalise could be a hero.
We don't know. Yeah, it's possible.
He could have information that could tumble a regime.
And let me say one last thing. But look, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman's coming in. The Coreys. Corey Haim died. Supposedly he was kind of like mouthing off, but then he had drug issues, blah, blah, blah. Corey Feldman's coming to New Orleans, I think, in about a month. We're going to try to get him on the show or do an interview. Twitter. I know he's been kind of averse to talk about this Pizzagate stuff, but we're going to see what we can do.
Maybe he'll talk about Goonies.
He's coming to Southport Hall.
He was molested. He was molested in Hollywood.
They all were. I mean, look at Michael Jackson. Listen to the songs. We're going from subject to subject. But the more I think about this situation with Bill Cosby, and 60 people supposedly were raped by him, and we don't have much of any evidence, no illegitimate children. He was promoting fatherhood as an African American, which is against the Hollywood elite's plan for them. And then you look
at
the Arabs run Hollywood. And then you look at Michael Jackson. I'm sitting with my wife and I'm listening. She likes Michael Jackson, and I'm looking at these weird YouTube videos. And she's like, "What you looking at?" I'm like, this song, "They Don't Really Care About Us." And I was telling her, you listen to the lyrics, and it's like, whoa, he's going straight at the elites, and they got rid of him. So back to the Pizzagate stuff. If you mouth off, you're going to get the hatchet. So.
Yeah. I mean, it might have been an example. I just know this. Nothing is organic.
The timing was unusual.
Absolutely.
Right after the NBA Finals. This is when they do the false flags. They did, Pulse nightclub a year ago.
Dylan
Roof 2 years ago. We saw the agenda with that. All the monuments gone because of Dylan Roof.
The Pulse thing was so phony. I mean, the building was only occupied the whole 150. They said there was 300 people in there. The building had been empty.
Hey, I'm wearing my LSU shirt right now. The LSU baseball games on TV.
I got my LSU hat on.
We're all bred and circused out with that. But guess what? When the sports end, this is when they false flag the hell out of us. And you got to wake up to that. I'm telling you, the false flags are coming down the pipe right now. Now the July 4th and I think it's July 2nd, they have all these planned protests, right, Mr. Mayor?
July 2nd.
So, hey, the civil unrest, the false flags, the gun ban.
Soros has spent hundreds of millions on this.
It's going to, and you guys are going to be barbecuing. What happened to our America? July 4th. What happened to our America?
That was gone 50 years ago.
We lost that.
America's been dead.
All right, we'll be back. Call us up, 504-556-9696. We're live, Battle of New Orleans Radio. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Listening to Battle of New Orleans Radio right here on 990 AM WGSO in the heart of the Crescent City. We are home of the First Amendment. You will not get your opinion heard or your point of view or hear this anti-New World Order,
You'll get cut off on these other channels.
And that's right. And I want to take over the show for just a second.
Right,
I have my monthly contribution.
Got some currency, some shekels.
I want to contribute to the fund here.
Thank you. We're not going to say on air how much we got from Richie, but he did contribute.
It's a meager amount, but I know it helps, and it's what I can afford.
We got bills,
and I hope it encourages all you other bums out there that loon to these guys.
And listen,
send in a few dollars once a month. We
try to keep the show going. We got kids, we got jobs like everybody else. We're not boo-hooing about the situation.
I hear you.
Richie knows. One thing we're glad about Mr. Machiavelli being in studio is he's a young guy who's just like a social media king. He's very good at promoting what's going on and videos, live streams of what's going on at the monuments. Man, I've been watching at home, seeing what's going on through his eyes, and it's just been awesome. We're awesome. We're going to get back to that. We have Caleb Hitt on the air right now. He's got a little break from work, I think, so we can maybe get some clarification on his Pizzagate video connected to Steve Scalise. So go ahead, Caleb. Can you let our listeners know what your take is on this connection possibly with Scalise and exposing Pizzagate?
Yeah, well, I encourage everybody to go check out that video. I think I made it yesterday, but in a nutshell, the shooter, James Hodgkinson, he's had different foster children under his care. Two foster daughters that he's had, one apparently has died from horrific deaths. One supposedly committed suicide by dousing herself with gasoline and setting herself on fire inside of a vehicle. She was a 17-year-old under his care.
Wow.
Another daughter of his, I don't know the age of this one, but she died apparently of some drug overdose. I think it was heroin overdose. So, I mean, there's basically what I found out was that there's basically a lot of speculation going around that, well, maybe, perhaps, maybe that's just sort of like acting as a cover-up for maybe, now, these are theories, okay, potential crimes that maybe Hodgkinson committed, and they just said, well, that girl just doused herself with gasoline and set herself on fire. Well, this other girl, she just died from overdose from heroin. Who knows? Maybe there was something else going on that as far as along the lines of some sexual abuse that maybe the public doesn't know about yet. And so, and that's where you kind of open the lid as far as the blackmail aspect of things. Well, maybe he was blackmailed into, an attempted assassination attempt on Representative Steve Scalise, who of course until somebody made a comment on Reddit, I posted a link from last week's radio broadcast, informed me, because I didn't even know, that Representative Steve Scalise was pushing a lot of, has been pushing a lot of anti-human trafficking legislation. He's been going after human trafficking, child predators. So maybe that could be, maybe there's like a retaliation thing going on against Scalise. Maybe the deep state, maybe, we have all these pedophiles going on, running around in Washington that don't like people opposing that realm, of course, as far as it goes. So that was probably the most eye-opening information that I was able to, and all this was already publicly available, this information. It's not like I was really trying to report anything that was actually brand new. As far as I just did, Scalise, he put out a message on a video about his legislation efforts against human trafficking. He tweeted his message on video on May 24th, I believe it was. So
yeah, but
this is actually, these are some recent efforts that Scalise has been involved in. So, is it just a coincidence that he, somebody, he got shot,
Caleb, there's never a coincidence dealing with the elite Washington, this district of criminals. There's never anything that's a coincidence.
Right, and he's Hodgkinson. He's already been charged. He is publicly known that he was he's involved with physical abuse among his foster children. So I mean, there's been some shady stuff going on with him that's already been brought into the limelight as far as that goes.
Yeah, well, nothing surprises me. I mean, and we don't know what to believe at this point. The only thing that I really know now is that I really don't know anything, because I mean, you can't believe the TV. If they tell you left, you better go right. If the lying government says go north, you better go south.
And that's all we get. There's some sources that through the internet we can get to, but
right.
Basically most of us just hear from the radio or the television or the newspaper. So what do we really know? And it seems to me if Steve Scalise were aware of this already, there should have been something done about this. And Caleb, what do you mean legislation? You mean child trafficking isn't illegal right now? What kind of legislation would you need to propose that isn't already covered?
Well, that's a very darn good question. Of course, yes, it's illegal as far as it goes. Now, I'll be completely honest. I don't know the ins and outs as far as the details of that legislation that he was involved with. I know that he was making some public statements involving human trafficking, going after child predators. Exactly the details, I have not looked into that, so that would be worth further investigation, of course. As far as that goes.
What else is on your radar, Caleb? Have you been following, the whole Syrian, jet being shot down? What's your take on that? And, what's the next move for the Trump administration? And has the Council on Foreign Relations just completely taken over? You got a minute. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, there's been further incident, even earlier today, I believe it was, the Russian Ministry of Defense, he was he was en route in a plane, a Russian plane, of course, to a meeting with other Russian officials. An American fighter jet intercepted his plane. And then, of course, another Russian fighter jet had to kind of show the American fighter jet his weaponry, and then the American guy flew off. And there's been other incidents this month. We had Russian jets intercept American jets and vice versa.
Caleb, can you stay on for another segment? We're coming to a hard break right now.
I wish I could, but my break ends like 30 minutes.
How can we check out that information? Battle of New Orleans YouTube page. All right, look.
Battle Nola Radio.
All right, well, thank you, Caleb. We appreciate it. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. You're listening to Battle of New Orleans Radio. And if you are listening to this broadcast or transmission, you are in the right place because you are searching for the truth. You know, you're not going to get any other truth-based information in New Orleans, period. You're not going to get it. So I know if you're listening, you're listening to us, you want to find out what's at the bottom of that rabbit hole. And that's all we try to do on the show is try to, have an open mind and really explore and investigate really all of these events because we know the TV lies. Okay, they've been caught over and over again. Since 2003, I say this all the time, but I have to reiterate this to people every week because we're dead. We're dead as a culture. We're dead as a society. Everywhere I go, the people are dying. They can barely talk. We were in Jack in the Box a couple of days ago. I wasn't eating Goyim. I was eating my bean.
I was on a little.
I'm on a little.
I got him on a strict financial diet actually right now. So.
Yeah, I wasn't eating, but my
personal information.
My partner was eating. My buddy, he was eating. So we go in there. He tells the lady. This is a quick example of how dumbed down the society is.
Your coworker that I know of.
Yeah, my buddy there. He tells the lady at the counter, no mayonnaise. No mayonnaise, no sauce. So what did she do? She said, no mayonnaise, no sauce. Well, what about mayo? Do you still want mayo? He says, no, I don't.
Mayo is mayonnaise.
Yeah, he said, no, I don't want mayonnaise. Well, what about mayo? Ooh. And this is a grown person.
Send the robots in.
Yeah, so this is just
the robot's going to be taking that job soon anyway, right?
Absolutely. This is just one prime example. And I've been trying to hire some people. I went through 2 different crews for the last week.
How's that working out?
Everybody sucks.
They're zoned out.
They're like, they can't.
More mayo, more mayo, more mayo.
They're all full of aspartame and narcotics. And I'm
zoning out all the time, too. He's always looking at me in the studio like it's my cue to say something cool, and I'm not ready.
Yeah. So this is what we're facing.
I admit, I'm guilty.
And we're about to go to the calls, but I just want to say this. We're dead. We are dead as a human species and as a society. We have just been usurped. They've been usurping our mind with the chemicals, with the frequencies. There's ELF frequencies that destroy us. There's Wi-Fi frequencies that destroy us. There's our phone that destroys us. And they're able to manipulate and steer us and turn us off and turn us on.
I got good news, guys. I just bought some property in Ruby Ridge, Idaho. Thinking we might go out there and get off the grid. Richie, get yourself a good little country girl. Have about 6 kids.
Yeah, they already know about Ruby Ridge.
What? Well, you know what? What are the chances of us
coming? Ruby Ridge,
what are the chances of us coming back there twice? Let's kind of surprise them. Let's go back. They won't expect it. Well, we're getting off the grid. Okay?
Let's see where Joseph.
We might as well move to Waco. Yeah.
You know what?
Well, Waco's not bad. Let's see where
potential. All right.
Joseph may have a bunker. Joseph, the professor.
Joseph, where should we move to, man? You got any ideas?
I'd like to go to another planet where the government can't follow you.
So you can't run away, Joseph? Is that
from where your phone's at? Oh, you got a new phone now.
I got a cell phone now. So I'm
cool.
It's easier for what is it? The NSA to track me and AT&T and all that. But like you say, we're trapped. We can't do nothing.
We can't run, Joseph. And
no, there's no one place to run. You said the magic word a little while ago, Syria or the Syrian thing going on. When I listen to Michael Savage, does the show at 9 o'clock, he is mystified. He's dumbfounded about why Trump wants to get further and further and deeper into Syria. He realizes now more than ever because he's using the term military-industrial complex.
Well, Joseph, not to cut you off, but before, and I want to get back to your point, but before I lose this, I was listening to Savage last night for a brief second, and he said, I support giving more money to the military-industrial complex. And when I heard that...
Who said that, Savage?
Savage said that.
Of course.
And it really, my jaw hit the ground when he said that. Go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
I think it's because he realizes that if he doesn't say that kind of thing, they come after him. But the thing is, think about this for a second. A lot of people are very mystified why we're going deeper and deeper in this area.
Enlighten us.
I have a theory about that, and I'll tell you what it is. Besides, of course, that CIA and the Pentagon, you really usurp the independence of the office of the presidency of the United States of America after November 22nd, 1963. That goes without saying. But think about this. What was one of the big issues before the election took place in November? One of the big things, the big concern was we have a $20 trillion deficit.
It's higher than
Once
that.
we crossed that tripwire, things were going to happen. But nothing has happened. And it's because we're doing the will of the people that is holding that debt.
Oh, who are these people you speak of?
Well, the transnational central bankers of the world that we owe our souls to.
And Joseph, you need to let Jeff Kerr know this every morning. Let him wake up to this thing because he's all beating the war drum. He's beating that war drum for Iran.
He doesn't want to hear this, and I think it's because he's doing like Michael Savage. He says, "I support the military-industrial complex," which is to say, I support the Pentagon. We throw about billions of dollars at them. But here's the thing: this new world order that we hear about, that's going to be instituted after this world war coming up.
It's been instituted now, really. It's now. It's not. It's really not. It's now.
It's going to start in Syria, but it'll get much bigger. I really believe that's the main reason why we are going in this area. We've been given our marching orders by the One World bankers, the transnational central bankers. Remember this. Last year, Steve Scalise wanted to offer a bill in the House of Representatives to audit the Federal Reserve banking system, to audit it. And what happened was, Steve Scalise wanted to offer a bill.
Where was that?
That was last year.
I missed that.
Jeff Kerouac put him up to this. And guess what? Who suggested that Jeff decided to Jeff Kerouac? I don't think I have to tell you. But the thing is, Steve Scalise was heard by the intelligence community. Okay, I'm going to offer a bill. And just a few days later, I'm not sure how. I think it was a week or 2 weeks, less than that. A left-wing blogger found Steve Scalise going to some rally up north, a very right-wing rally. And who's there? David Duke.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Joseph, wait. So you're talking about Scalise attending a David Duke event?
No, it wasn't a David Duke.
It was the European...
A European Pride event? Yeah, I heard about that. Can't do that.
So now,
I hate yourself.
The idea of auditing the Federal Reserve is totally off the board because Steve Scalise, who wants to do this, was, about 40 feet away from David Duke. So you have to understand, everything comes down to the power of money.
Sure.
And there's two entities that wield this remote on our planet. They form a de facto one world government. That's the transnational central bankers and the international oil industry.
Hey, Joseph, I have a question for you. So I have a question, and then I get your response, and we got to go. Okay, you're bringing up this point about...
They want us in Syria.
Wait, hold up. He's about to ask the question.
No, I understand they want... There's a seven-nation plan that looks just like the 1947 Rabbi Fishman map, that looks just like the seven-nation plan from 2003, that looks just like minus one nation, that Trump's new plan. So there's a lot of correlation there. But my question for you, Joseph, is... Do you think all of these things are multifaceted, just like Vietnam's multifaceted, 9/11's multifaceted? Do you think it's just like Kennedy? Kennedy didn't want to give nukes to Israel. Kennedy wanted to abolish the Federal Reserve. Kennedy wanted to
down on the mob.
His own money.
Yeah, right.
Kennedy started printing money that wasn't backed by the Federal Reserve for a while. Wasn't it $5 bills?
No, absolutely. So my question to you is: do you think this event with Steve Scalise? Do you think it could have been multifaceted because of his opposition to the banks and his opposition to pedophilia?
That requires deeper investigation. I think the word today, the new word is vetting. But the thing is, you've got the so-called kook in the crowd with, what was his name? Not Hastings, the guy that did
Hutchinson,
or whatever his name was.
He doesn't fit the profile. And look, we got to run, Joe. We appreciate it. We got a load of phone line.
That's the reason why the $20 trillion deficit hasn't crushed it. It's $20 trillion because we do the will of the banks.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Joe. We got to go look. And it's really, he brings up $20 trillion. It's really more than $2 quadrillion. We're in debt because of the fake, phony derivatives. So, they loan out $1 10 times, and then they create these fake, phony pieces of paper, call them derivatives. They're backed by nothing. Chase Bank has upwards of $87 or $88 trillion in fake, phony derivatives. We were talking about the pedophile ring in Washington. Everybody needs to remember Dennis Hastert. He was Speaker of the House, and he is a convicted, known pedophile.
If you go against these people, they're making examples of these people. So, look, if you are a politician, you'll
get Kennedy real quick.
You get Kennedy, and the Fed, you get a bullet in the head.
That's right. Look, we're coming back. We got 20 seconds. We go to break. And we're coming back. We got a couple more phone lines. In the second hour, we're going to really open it up for Mr. Machiavelli. So, Battle of New Orleans Radio will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Battle of New Orleans Radio. Look, we were just having a conversation off air, and we're about to go to the calls.
Yeah, because we always heard the rumor that Timothy McVeigh read the Turner Diaries book, and that book talks a lot about gun ban stuff, and it's like a controversial book.
McVeigh that was a whole government operation. There was upwards of 6 drills being run that day, at the Morrow building. There was witnesses of bombs being planted, not by McVeigh. That whole thing was a setup. McVeigh was under care of Dr. Jolyon West. Everybody needs to look up who Jolyon West was. Jolyon West was the psychiatrist for Sirhan Sirhan. He was the psychiatrist for what's the guy that Kennedy was Sirhan Sirhan, Robert Kennedy. There was several, like 6 people like Sirhan Sirhan and McVeigh that Jolyon West had under his care. So, Jolyon West was a key player in the MK Ultra mind control experiment and projects for the CIA using psychiatry and a lot of
psychops.
That's right.
I get the MK Ultra connection to like Hollywood, and they turn these pop stars like Miley Cyrus into these cute, wholesome little girls, into these wild cultural Marxists like whores or whatever you want, as Richie says.
Mm-hmm. Oh, like Mitch.
How does explain this to me, because I need to be informed? How does MK Ultra play into ex-military people? Because I always hear this connection here. Explain that to me and the listeners.
Look, here's the deal, boy. They can use frequencies. Okay, Julian Assange was just talking similarly about them being able to use frequencies to control us. Okay, look, they in the 60s during the Cold War, they were putting up ELF towers, extra low frequency towers, and they were able to use the frequencies to steer people and manipulate people and even put thoughts in people's heads. There's been so many people that live near these towers that heard these voices that were coming from somewhere else inside their head. This is old technology. That was in the 60s. They can. This is mainstream articles about how they use flicker rates on light bulbs to control your mind. They can control masses of people with cell phone technology. The TV's a weapon. The frequencies. Sure. We all are subject to this.
Yeah, my head keeps turning down towards my phone.
You guys are too.
I'm like a little gerbil.
You're too young to remember the Outer Limits TV show. It was like Twilight Zone. It came on in the 60s.
I remember it, though.
And the beginning was, do not attempt to control your television. We control the vertical. We control the horizontal. It was, and they were basically telling you back then through the medium of a science fiction, television show,
the reality
of the situation.
And that sounds so crazy at the time. That's what people's
right.
response
Are you
kidding me? I got my free will.
Right. It was a science fiction, outer space UFO.
Listen, wait, hold up. I live in America and I'm free.
You're free.
Well, why did it get
you're
quiet
free
here?
to choose whatever one of the 31 flavors that's available at Baskin and Robbins. That's about the extent of your freedom.
Yeah, we're not free. We don't live under a constitutional form of government
or a common law.
No.
Where you are a natural entity as opposed to a legal fiction, which is then subject to administrative rules.
Absolutely.
So what advice would you give me, Richie, for my little 8-month-old daughter? I signed on to
the next
I haven't
advice
done
would
vaccines.
The next advice would be on your next child, do not leave that hospital with a Social Security number from that child. There is no law.
What's the recourse of not doing that?
Nothing. There is no recourse.
Oh, what's the recourse of doing it?
Of
for
doing
my first
it
daughter?
where you've just enslaved your daughter into every regulation that that you guys have been talked about for 2 years. Every ordinance or statute, which is against the difference between I'm getting slightly into legal terms here, and I am no lawyer, but I've read enough about it to have an informed opinion on it. There's a corpus delicti, which is what we were originally founded on. There was no damage. We didn't have a case. We didn't have any business with each other if I didn't damage you. Now everything, it's what they're trying to get President Trump on now, the administrative. He didn't break any law. He just lied to him. So this is what I'm talking about. The natural man who has retained common law rights and can own property as opposed to a legal fiction citizen of a state which is regulated and you're what you are is you insure the debt of the nation. So every dime they spend, when you voted and signed up with a Social Security card.
Do you have a Social Security card?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Our parents screwed us.
And all these countries have similar versions. I mean, you look at Canada, they have, I think it's a sin. They have, I mean, it's all.
Yeah, they're all under the administrative Roman law now.
Yeah. So there's nowhere to run. We're not going to run at this point. They can steer whole mass. I mean, look, name me one movement or name me one thing that's real organic. We didn't get into World War I on real pretenses. World War II was started on a big phony fat lie. Vietnam fat lie. All fat lies. Iraq.
USS Liberty.
The Liberty. I mean, you name it. What one thing is real?
Listen right now on the news, like every 2 seconds is basically the narrative is like, look, Muslims are the biggest threat to this country. ISIS is the biggest threat to you, and if we don't send troops over there right now, then America is doomed. That's basically the narrative right now on every channel, and that's MSNBC and Fox. Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But Goyim, who created ISIS? Who funded ISIS?
CIA and the Mossad.
Who continues to give Saudi Arabia, which is ISIS, forces, who continues to give them hundreds of billions of dollars, possibly. We've trained the ISIS fighters in Jordan. You can go look this up from Der Spiegel, 2011. I mean, it's 2003. You just go on and on. The defense, the DIA report stated, how we basically, created the environment for ISIS. General Flynn came out in 2014 and stated that ISIS, the creation of ISIS was a willful decision. You can go watch the interview on Al Jazeera. So I'm trying to give sources so people could look this up. I'm not just, when I say this, I'm not just pulling this out of my hat. Okay, in 2003, the British intelligence firm, $500 million, I said that earlier, to create fake ISIS videos and fake Al-Qaeda videos. If they've been creating fake Bin Laden videos since 2003. What is the limits? There is no limits. They will do anything and manipulate all of our minds.
So what you're saying is Israel and Saudi Arabia have some kind of sick and twisted collusion there, Israel and Saudi Arabia?
Well, absolutely.
And everyone else is fair game for destabilization, huh?
Yeah.
All right, we got some callers.
No, we're going
to break. You know what? We got a break in a minute. Go ahead, Nathan.
After we come back from the break, we're going to take these two calls.
In the second hour, we're going to open things up with Mr. Machiavelli in studio to tell us all his information about all kinds of stuff.
The monuments, he's got a whole bunch of documents over there. It looks like Joseph, the professor, sent him a
He's a local New Orleans patriot who cares about the city, cares about the national scale. And, it's sad to see what's going on in the Middle East, actually, because it's our troops on the line. It's our tax dollars on the line. It's going to be our relocation. They're going to relocate quote-unquote war refugees into your neighborhood. So if you're beating the war drum for Trump's war or Obama's war, Syria. It's all the same. Guess what? The relocation plan is going to come of that.
Support the troops.
Yes, support the troops. Well, guess what? The war is going to create the war refugee, and the war refugees coming to Europe and America.
Thank you for your service.
Look,
the Largy plan. Google it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we give the military.
They're a pawn. They don't mean badly, Rich, but they're a pawn in the game.
Thank you for your service.
We give the military-industrial complex almost $700 billion just on what we know of, and yet it's the troops are still having to get donated equipment from the homes. Okay, so it doesn't matter. You could give the military-industrial complex $1 gazillion. It'll never be enough. We'll never be safe. Battle of New Orleans Radio.
It's the Battle of New Orleans! Radio! Bringing truth to your eardrums! Here we go! It's the Battle of New Orleans! Radio! Bringing truth to your eardrums! Here we go!
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back listening to Battle of New Orleans Radio. And we're about to take 2 calls. We got the Flaming Liver on hold, and we got Phil the Page. Before we go to these calls, I want to give a big shout out to Eugene Ernest Black, who's probably listening. A school teacher. He's a civil human being who's definitely nonviolent, who's part of Antifa. So we really appreciate and support his boots on the ground action, him working for the internationalists, because these groups are all funded and spin-off groups of Black Lives Matter and these other entities who are being funded by the big foundations like the Ford Foundation, like the Open Society Foundation. So thank you, Mr. Eugene Ernest Black. You are today's best New World Order whore in training. Thank you, buddy. So really appreciate it. We want to take these 2 calls.
Let's say hi to Debbie for us, Gene.
As Mr. Machiavelli. Listen, we got to take these calls quickly, so go ahead, Phil the Patriot. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, good evening, brother and sister, Christian American patriotic hostages. Please close your eyes and open your minds for just a few moments.
Death threats and
hey, look, we got Mr. Machiavelli here, your buddy. Go ahead, Phil.
What's up, Phil?
Please pretend we're all sitting at a big, huge round table. Suddenly, I walk into the room and I throw hundreds of $1 bills, $5 bills, $10 bills, $20 bills, $50 bills, and
you weren't at Visions, were you?
All of this money is Federal Reserve money. All of this money has pictures of dead presidents, words and symbols on it. But do you know what money really says to you? It says, I am your God. You must obey me. I want you to lie for me. I want you to cheat for me. I want you to kill for me. I want you to steal for me. I want you to murder congressmen, senators, and presidents with AK-47s and SS rifles so I can take away America's right to keep and bear arms. I want you to murder your brothers for me. I want you to murder your sisters for me. I want you to murder your fathers for me. I want you to murder your mothers for me. I want you to destroy monuments, statues, symbols, music, art, history, sculptures, hospitals, schools for me. And I want you to go all for me right now. Please open your minds up.
Phil, what you're saying? You're saying that we're chasing money and we're doing anything for it. We lost God in the process, huh?
Rents do.
Exactly. So wake up, America. Stop worshiping money.
Thank you, Phil.
The book of Timothy, the love of money is the root of all evil. Let me interject again real quick. Speaking of money, this radio show needs financing, needs some help. I'd like to, as a guest on tonight and a regular listener, I'd like to encourage those of you who are regular listeners as well, send in a few dollars. They cost a postage stamp and a few minutes of your time. A couple of dollar bills, $5 bill in an envelope.
$3.30 Carondelet.
Send it to Nathan or Goyam.
Eugene Black. Come on, send us some money.
And if you like this, support it. It's a few dollars, and enough you did it, you can hear this radio show longer. Thank you.
We appreciate that, Richie. Yeah, if we could get, because the show does cost us money. It costs us $800 a month. It's hard for us to sell advertising because we're steadily chasing the fake fiat currency issued by the Federal Reserve. So, we really appreciate any support. If we could get 100 people to donate $5 a month, it would do us a great good.
Okay, look, we got one more. Let's go to the next caller. Go ahead, Flaming Liberal. You're on the air.
Y'all putting any money into Bitcoin?
I like Bitcoin.
I don't have any money right now. I'm kind of broke. Okay. I've decided not to put any money into it because I don't have any.
By the way, there's a piece at Nola.com. The FBI, after an investigation, concluded that the madman, lunatic shooter at the baseball practice field acted alone. Before I say something else, any comment on that?
The lone gunman, huh?
That's the same story over and over. We can't trust any media outlet, Flaming Liberal. They've all got caught. They've all been caught lying. If you get caught lying to me over and over again, I'm not going to believe or trust you. And just because you got to remember, the CIA infiltrated and usurped our media in 1951, 1952 through Operation Mockingbird. They've inserted CIA assets in all forms of media. Go ahead.
Okay, you know what really bothers me? Well, there's many things that bothers me regarding Republicans. I'd rather have a sister working at the Canal Street brothel than a member of my
Flaming Liberal, the left-right dichotomy of Republican, Democrat. If this is the extent of your research and your political commentary, as insightful as you are on some things, you're back in the 19th century, man. You need to plug in and smell the coffee.
You're on the plantation just like us.
Let me give an example of why I'm just totally disgusted with so many philosophies and beliefs of Republican Party.
And Flaming Liberal, just real quick, I'm with you. If you were to put as much scrutiny on the Democrats as you do the Republicans, we might get some progress and some justice.
Well, I'll get back to you on that, but the African-American Capitol Policewoman, her name is Crystal Grimes, who took a bullet for Steve Scalise and other congressional white Republicans. She's a lesbian lady. She's in a gay marriage.
What does that have to do with
So now that's to promote homosexuality. Is that the point of this?
Well, the point is Steve Scalise drafted and passed legislation to ban gay marriage in Louisiana.
I support that.
So I guess, and by the way, many a Republican governor and legislature has passed legislation deemed by federal judges to be a surgical precision attack to keep African Americans from voting. So if you're a black woman, the Republican Party, they don't want you to vote. They don't want you to marry a person of your choice, but if you're a black lesbian woman, you're good enough to take a bullet for a Republican white congressman.
There is no Republican. I'm so sick.
And Flaming Liberal, thank you for the call, because we got to go to our in-studio guest soon. But go ahead, Nathan.
I'm so sick. Look, Carol Quigley in Tragedy and Hope, who was part of the international system, he was Bill Clinton's mentor, stated that they just use both systems. They use the Democrats and the Republicans as that's just fodder and food for the slave goyim on ground level.
It's the wrestling match.
It doesn't exist. The internationalists use every political system. Everybody always talks about, the Koch brothers, the Koch brothers. Well, guess what? The Koch brothers give money to leftist organizations and right organizations. So it's all fake. So look, let's go to our guest because, man, it just gets me so fired up. So go ahead, Mr. Machiavelli. Appreciate you coming in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
The mic is all yours, my friend. Go ahead.
Well, it's funny that you just spoke of the Koch brothers because one of the monument supporters that was out at Camp Drew, who the local media and the police have been calling squatters, anyway, he wanted me to email the Koch brothers to ask them for help with what's going on down here with taking away our history and everything like that. And I didn't even respond. I was just my head spun. I was like, dude, these people want to rewrite the Constitution. Like, you really want me to email them for help?
And like they're really going to help us or listen anyway. These people are they're living on, they're on another planet. The elite don't live on the same planet we live on. And look, I know we were looking through some of the documents you had, and you brought a whole bunch of documentation with you, and we really like, you documenting everything. You're showing, you've been detailing about these anti-fascists. You've been detailing, a lot of stuff's been going on the monuments about this Trident Group. Go ahead and get into this Trident Group, who is this security firm out of Dallas who was running covert Texas. And overt operations here amongst the citizens of New Orleans. So thank you. You international whore, Mitch Landrieu, and I'm going to keep continuously calling you that until your ass leaves office next June. So, I can't wait to see your ass voted out, but it's not going to matter because they're going to give us LaToya Cantrell, who's in Aspen Institute.
Isaacson.
Yeah, New World Order whore in training. So go ahead, Mr. Machiavelli, and give us some real detail about this Trident Group.
We got about 3 minutes in studio before the break. Go ahead.
Well, the Trident Group is from Dallas, Texas. It was founded in 2005 by an ex-Navy SEAL. I forgot his name. And basically, Mitch hired them because the New Orleans Police Department could not do what department just a parish next door could do, and that was basically doing reconnaissance and social media investigating, and also identifying threats on both sides, the opposition and the pro-monument people. So you basically have all these people coming out here from Texas. They came out here, they rented rental cars from Hertz Rental Car. And the reason why I know that is because at 1960 Lafayette Street, where the Jefferson Davis statue and the Liberty Place Monument are being held in the Homeland Security warehouse near the Superdome, I went over there one night just to pass by right as the sun was going down, and two vehicles began to follow me, and one of them took my picture and everything like that. So I kind of flipped a script on them, and I gave them what they gave me, so I followed them. And after following them and taking down their license plates, through later looking and everything, I ended up finding that they were Hertz rental cars. And then I saw in the invoice that Trident provided to Mitch so that they could get paid their $710,000, but probably more. They had a heavy price for rental cars, so obviously that was them tailing me. So I just want to tell Trident thank you, and also how they make $425 an hour on the high end and about $250 an hour on the low end. Are y'all taking applications, Trident?
What Machiavellian? What do you mean the invoice?
Well, the invoice for their services that they provided to the city of New Orleans during the monument removals, I have them all right here.
And this was accessible via the internet, or
anybody could go and get them.
Okay.
I mean, basically, you just need to do a FOIA request, stuff like that. But they have on here strategic advisor Bob. Strategic advisor,
Louis,
Gary,
Little Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, these look fake.
Scooch.
I mean, the only real name on here is Aaron Miller, the head of Homeland Security for New Orleans. But anyway, Bob got 83 hours clocked in 1 week at $275 an hour. Gary did 68 hours
Great
a week,
OT.
$250 an hour. The field operators, averaging 6 people a day, got 345 hours at $250 an hour. I mean, it's just insane.
I'll do it for $150 an hour.
Yeah, it's a great job, man. I mean, all you got to do is tail people and take some pictures, and then go and do some minor social media stuff that anybody knows how to do these days.
Well, we're coming to a break here. Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, it just blows my mind, all of the operations that are run right here domestically amongst and against their own people, our own American citizens. We have military-industrial complex type groups that surveil us. We have the government that surveils us. I am just sick and tired of it. They will never make you safe. You can never trade your safety, for freedom and liberty, because it's not going to work. We're all going to wake up on the train in the gulag. Battle of New Orleans Radio. We'll be right back.
Gene Black's listening. Hey-o.
Gene, if you don't mind, my birthday is in February. I'd love for you to play the snare, brother.
There you go.
All right. Okay, we're back. Battle of New Orleans.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Okay, Mr. Machiavellian. I was out at a couple of the protests, the big Robert E. Lee that Sunday, which was very exciting. I
was
admit,
there too. Yeah.
I had gone down there with wild anticipation into. My imagination was roaming. What is this going to be, a literal battle?
Your heart was pounding.
Well, Richie, the white nationalists were fighting with the Confederates, and they were fighting with a third group, the Captain America YouTubers.
Yeah, the narcissism of the small differences.
Go again. I'm in charge here. Now send me some money from my PayPal.
Okay, but
that's what that is. And then the white nationalists, and I'll say it real quick and get back to Richie. The white nationalists are telling the Confederates, hey, look, the Zionists are in charge of your currency. They're in charge of your government. We're the League of the South. Right hand, 1488. More white children. And they're fighting with the Confederates. Like, no, we don't want anything to do with that white nationalism. The Confederates are like, we're here waving the rebel flag because we're here about Southern heritage.
Yeah,
and then those two groups were fighting with each other. And then you got them Captain American yahoos who probably mean well, but they started realizing they can make a lot of money with their PayPal accounts and their GoFundMe pages, running around from story to story. And they're like, we're here at the Lee Circle, and we care about America. And if that means a war in the desert, so be it. It's So I mean, like they just—it's crazy. Man.
I like.
Go ahead.
I like glass.
They were fighting with each other.
Okay, but this expense that you had just exposed with this Dallas firm, were people? We were being surveilled and recorded, or put in a record, or
they were
and what are the means?
People like you.
What is it? Just
people who were there resisting.
Video or individual snapshots, or just? I saw people on the roofs all around Lee Circle, which were obviously some sort of authority figures.
Right, and those people that you saw on top of the gas station right there,
and the hotel,
the Hotel Modern, and then also the other building towards St. Charles. Back,
going around by the Circle Bar,
right? Well, no, the other side of the Hotel Modern.
Okay,
those were all Trident people.
Trident, that was
Trident
the
Response
hired
Group.
Yeah,
yes,
okay,
Trident
but
Response
they were a government agent. They were
they're not a government
they're
agency.
Mercenaries.
They're
No, I meant
basically ex-military mercenaries.
But they were hired by the government, which legally would make them an agent of the government.
Yeah,
so
pretty
they were
much.
working
Yeah,
for the government.
They were contractors for the city of New Orleans.
Okay, and their purpose was to monitor and record, or interfere, or provide some sort of tactical assistance, or get information.
Yeah, basically they were here to surveil any possible threats on the pro-monument side and also on the opposition, which would be the people who wanted to see the monuments come down, like take them down, Nola, BLM, Antifa. They were even investigating some New Orleans policemen as well.
Yeah, okay, can I say
is there a list and a record there somewhere?
I'm sure there is, but that is not in what I have. And
look, I want to say something real quick. You know, you brought up Take Him Down Nola, and this is kind of. I invited Michael Questmore. You know, if you're listening, Mr. Gene Black, go ahead and tell
Gene Black.
Who is Michael Questmore?
Tell your handler.
Tell Suber.
Yeah, tell your little comic.
Talk to Subes.
Yeah, tell your little Zio controlled.
Well, you know what? Let's go right for Walt Isaacson. Why not? He's
he's the main
puppeteer,
the main jalapeno.
Ooh.
But look,
leprechaun.
Yeah, talk to Quest and ask him why he refused to come on the show because he's a coward. You know, after he done ambushed.
He went to Abramson High School, though.
After he done
ambushed. He's from New Orleans.
It might have been his bowling night.
Yeah,
oh,
right.
No, he's from Brooklyn. Oh, sorry.
After he ambushed
I was wrong.
Dr. Marks Barry on several occasions, on several interviews, but he wouldn't come on this show. And I offered him to be friendly.
Gene Black, come on, you got to get this set up for us. Call up.
Yeah, if you want to, you can come in the studio. Call up 504-556-9696, or you can come in studio as well. It'll be civil.
Right here, buddy, Carondelet.
330 Carondelet. Come on.
All right. Anyway, Prince, get back to your
Prince Machiavelli.
Get back to the point here.
So basically, it says it all right here, and it's really in a lot of fine print. It just basically says Trident agrees to provide the services or arrange for the provision of services to be provided by appropriately licensed personnel with a degree of professional skill, judgment, diligence, commensurate with industry standards that are normally exercised by and required of recognized security advisory firms with respect to services of a similar nature to the services. Trident will be responsible for and will require the proper licensing of all personnel providing the services under this agreement. So it's just basically pages and pages of what they were paid out and who was paid from their firm. Basically, I don't know the extent of the intelligence that they gathered on U.S. citizens that were out here or New Orleans Police Department personnel. I'd love to know because, you know, if they invaded our privacy and went a little too far, you know, I'd love to sue.
Where do you bring that redress to? The courts?
Well, yeah, you'd bring it to the courts and just sue Trident.
And Richie's being sarcastic about that because he thinks they've been co-opted.
Here's an observation, though. After all of this, the monuments are down. So whatever other goals they try to accomplish, in addition to literally removing the monuments, that's done. It's just a matter of time before our children will know nothing of their heritage because out of mind, out of sight. And they're gone. And while it's like taking off a Band-Aid. It hurts for that 1 second. But once that Band-Aid's been pulled off, the pain is over and we just go on with our life.
The apathy sets in.
So it's done. The history has been changed.
But a lot of apathy has set in with most New Orleans residents. Richie's correct about that. And we're going to be discussing the future of what we know about the monuments and possible corrosion on these monuments from the forces that are they're being kept in and whatnot. So we'll be right back. Ballad New Orleans Radio.
Ballad New Orleans, we're back right here on 990 AM WGSO in the heart of the Crescent City. We are the only radio show in New Orleans that fights the New World Order every week.
And when we're discussing the monuments, this is a microcosm of everything we're fighting. Now, we got
It's
Richie in
all part of
studio, Mr. Machiavelli.
Hello.
And Richie believes that this is out of our hands.
Yeah, we're at a historic point in the march of mankind. I'd like to liken it to this. When those first Indians saw the first Spanish galleon off the coast of Central America, that was it.
That was it.
It took 500 years, but the Indians, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing that was going to change that. Here, I think we're fighting windmills, fellas, and I don't want to discourage anyone's efforts or their sincerity or their beliefs, and not that you shouldn't resist. But if the tide is going to wash you over, standing there cursing the night isn't going to change anything.
Well, even if we lose, I can't say I don't want to go to bed knowing I'm apathetic. That being said,
That's
Richie,
a good point.
Richie has been lockstep with us cleaning the monuments. So don't think this guy right here wasn't out there cleaning the monuments. We had almost a Boondock Saints group of, no one knew it. The Trident group didn't know who these people were.
We were just a handful, and
I thought
it
people
was
cleaning the monuments.
It was futile, in my opinion, even at the
So
time.
you were still there,
but I felt good doing it.
But
Yeah,
if
you're
we-
right. I did feel good doing it.
If we lose this whole global war, personally or whatever, at least you at least
no,
tried,
we don't.
right?
We don't lose. We have our Savior to
Bill
return.
Fink, and Bill Fink has talked about this, right?
Yeah.
We've had him on the show, and that was Richie's request to have him on the show.
That's the perspective I like, gentlemen. Is to hear more of not only these current events and social and Republican, Democrat, and the conspiracy.
Forget that.
I want to get into the bigger picture, and as a Christian believer, this is
Christian ideology.
Christian identity. I want to know. I know the future. We just don't know the details, Nathan.
And this bill,
and that's what everybody wants to know. Oh, when and where and how, which isn't as important as it's definitely happening. So you got to get your mind right.
And this guy Bill Fink, we've had him on our show before, and he was at Lee's Circle the day you guys were talking about earlier.
Yeah, Luke, you just don't have your mind right.
Well, here's the difference between now and then. We're going to get back to Machiavelli's take and more of his information. But I'm going to say this real quick. The difference between now and 1775 or 1776, they didn't have the mass brainwashing capabilities they had at that point. Since the last 100 years, the invention of propaganda and all the technology to control us. I mean, they can steer and control mass movements. They can turn on our awakening. They can turn us off. I mean, look, they're able now to create gay people by, and that sounds crazy to people.
That sounds crazy, Nathan.
Well, I can explain. Hasn't everybody, look, for everybody listening, I don't have a beef with gay people. You want to be gay, that's great. I don't care what you do in your own bedroom. But listen, there's xenoestrogens, there's chemicals, there's BPAs that are in 70% of all the plastics that are xenoestrogens, and they mimic.
My chest is growing in a bad way, too.
They mimic estrogen.
Estrogen mimickers, yeah.
And it's in the plastics. This gets it's in our water. And that's
so
why.
What's the point? More depopulation?
Absolutely,
That's
because
the goal,
if everybody's
because
a homosexual,
it's not about,
you're not reproducing. It's all about population reduction.
Control,
The Georgia Guidestone.
Oh, there you
There we
go.
go.
Ooh, J.C. Christensen, 1978 it was, or 1979. They thought it was it was really Ted Turner that paid to erect that New World Order memento. So go ahead, Mr. Machiavelli. What else you got, man? Break it down, man. The floor is yours.
Well, a lot of people are wondering, especially those fellow patriots that were out there at Jeff Davis and Canal near the Jeff Davis Monument on May 1st, May Day. Everybody wants to know, how did Antifa come in such a large amount of numbers, like 200 people almost, with this big decommissioned military-style deuce-and-a-half truck? Well, there's a gentleman who happens to own that truck, and they had it all planned out strategically He said on his Instagram in one post, "Tonight, I'm going to be taking a bunch of folks to the rally in the Deuce. If you want to roll with us, meet up at the Mid-City Post Office parking lot at 8 p.m. Now, this gentleman is a former New Orleans City Hall employee, former city official.
Wow.
And his name is Justin Cray, K-R-A-Y.
What's up, Justin?
So he's used to being paid by the government or the taxes. Has made his career.
You
has
pay him.
fed him and sent his children to school and taken him to Disney World for 2 weeks every year.
Pretty much.
So he loves the idea of a government giving him gainful employment for the rest of his life.
Yep. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, I'll tell you right now, he's a former Blightstat performance manager at New Orleans City Hall.
That sounds impressive.
Former master plan GIS specialist at New Orleans City Hall.
Hold it right there. Master plan. Excuse me. Master plan.
Paul Isaacson.
No, hold up. Master plan is code word for you're an Agenda 21 administrator. Also, when you stated,
we got a call.
What else? What was he involved in? He was a master planner. And what else?
Former Blightstat performance manager.
Blight is all under HUD. That's another UN entity. This guy is he may not realize it, but he's working for the United Nations. You may not realize that, Mr. Cray, correct? Justin, you are an arm for the New World Order through the United Nations. So that's what you're from Massachusetts.
Yeah, we're looking at, of course, he's not from here.
Oh, of course. They're all from up north. Yeah. That's
but they're enlightened up there.
That's the big kicker. They come down.
Tell us what our history is.
They tell us to get out of their home. And they say, go home. So I reply, I said, I am home. I said, why don't you go back up north? And they just say, I have nothing to say.
Carpetbagger.
But I mean, that's the typical thing. I mean, it's just like the other one, the female, the blonde Barbie Antifa girl, Lex.
Where's she from?
She's from
Lex
DC.
Lindell, right?
Yeah, Lex Lindell. She's from DC. I unfortunately had to get slapped in the face by her out at the monument and had to hear the horrific response from NOPD. Sorry, sir, but we're on a stand-down order from our lieutenant and our commander. We cannot take action.
Oh, we can't take action, but you can get abused.
Well, they needed that stand down there, Machiavelli, because this is the situation. You guys were a threat. You were at Jefferson Davis. They took down Liberty Monument. Y'all had about 30 strong there. That Monday night, there was a little vulnerability there, and they picked that time because not many people were there that night, and they had to destabilize you guys, and they did that. And they allowed those Antifas to storm you guys and basically get away with murder and throwing beer bottles and whatnot. And then, well, guess what? The NOPD brought in their fences and their barricades, and they had everybody on the other side of the street by the Energy Building, and that was the end of it. And I didn't want to, like Richie said, he doesn't want to, suppress our resistance. But the truth is, I told those people out there, I'm like, look, you've been destabilized. You're on the other side of the street. They created the problem. They created the solution. They got the fences up. So there you go. But the bigger question is this. Now you have the boycott. Now you have the city doing nothing about crime. You're looking at these, United Nations plans, these resilient cities, Agenda 21. Do they want people to leave? Do they want they want people to leave permanently?
Yes.
They're going to swoop in and buy all this blighted property and refurbish it in their vision, right, Richie?
Yeah.
Is that the goal? Is that why they're letting? Because they could easily cap this crime if they wanted to. It looks like they're sitting on their hands.
Yeah, I mean, $2.2 million spent on the monument removal could have easily killed the crime.
You know how many potholes? 2.2 million.
They don't seem to want to solve these problems. It's very clear, and the businesses are closing. The boycott's fine with them, and guess what? They're bringing in their prefab chains. They got their Dave & Buster's. Sephora opened a week and a half ago. Well, we got Waffle Houses on Canal Street up and down. So the prefab deals with these globalists and their corporate whores, like Nathan likes to say, is, hey, they're fine with these little businesses closing out. Crime, all that. That leads to that. Bourbon Street, we know the situation there right now. It's shut down because they got all the construction going on.
When stuff gets out of hand, then the citizens cry for the state to step in, protect them, but the citizens not realizing the only thing the state does is murder, torture, rob you, and kill you. So the answer isn't to, encourage more state. We just need to protect ourselves, instill community, and that's the only way we do this. And Tony, we're about to come to you after I say this, is that the only way we stop this is to rebuild the communities and kick the government out.
And look, if you want to make a call, 504-556-9696 if you have a question for Mr. Machiavelli. Look, we're going to Tony and Metairie. We got about 2 minutes left. You're on the air. Go ahead. And Richie has a question for you after you make your comment. Go ahead.
Oh, guys, I just wanted some clarification. I'm not sure what I just flipped the radio on and I heard it when you talk about the depopulation methodologies and stuff. Am I misinterpreting that someone said something about that the lesbian, the gay, the homosexuals, the bisexuals, and all these people, they're not reproducing. They're putting their organs in the wrong places so that we don't get anybody from that.
Well, absolutely. And look, Tony, Nathan here, let's break it down to an animalistic, basic human element, aspect. Is our jobs is to reproduce, to keep the species going,
be fruitful and multiply.
Absolutely. And you look, nobody's doing that anymore. The European population, we have no supremacy. That's a myth.
We are at population rebirth.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're below
Tony.
that level.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
So, all right. So mostly, even if I'm thinking also along those lines, if I go back a few years, and as a few, maybe even 25 years, we started handing out birth control pills in the classroom.
Parenthood.
Who remember that woman, Jocelyn Elders?
Oh yeah.
She was the one that wanted to teach kindergarten
how to masturbate
so they wouldn't get each other pregnant.
You just look. She said that you just put your hands in their pants.
That's what she said. This nasty creep. We'll come back. I'm gonna play that video. She is a creepy woman. Go ahead, Tony.
So overall, they are basically our government. While everybody's patting them on the back from the other side, and they're all thinking this is really what they're doing. It's a slow, gradual execution of a certain sector of society that they're getting rid of one by one.
There's one main group that's depopulating. Let's be honest here. I mean, most of the other groups are either being pawned to reproduce out of control or
brought in from an endless line from around the world.
The war refugee process.
Let Tony, you got 45 seconds.
45 seconds.
Go ahead.
So I'm just trying to pick up on the clarity. So depopulation is really a mental thing. You frame the state of mind. You brainwash people to not reproduce. And then eventually you just take over because there's not enough of them.
Bingo.
Exactly. Divide and conquer.
Or relocate them in the case.
Thank you, Tony.
Yep.
Appreciate you holding.
Well, we got one segment left with Mr. Machiavelli and Richie in studio. So if you want to call up 504-556-9696, we'll be right back. Battle of New Orleans Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Battle of New Orleans Radio, our last segment. We really appreciate y'all tuning in every week. Please go hit the subscribe button on that YouTube channel, Battle Nola Radio.
Send in a few dollars.
Appreciate that, Richie. Yeah, that's right. A couple shekels. You want to be part of the advertising? No problem. We have some cheap commercials. So look, give me a call at 985. I'm not going to give out my number tonight because people are probably listening. Look, call up the studio.
330 Carondelet.
Yeah, 504-556-9696. Let's go back to Mr. Machiavelli for our last segment. Go ahead, buddy. Just get into it.
So basically what we have here, folks, is a former New Orleans city official by the name of Justin Cray, who on his Instagram on May 2nd has basically aligned himself and has announced his ties and that he is part of Antifa, which is a domestic terror organization. He also hashtag Mayday, also hashtag This Is Our Home, and also hashtag F Nazis. So anybody who was out there that was pro-monument was considered a Nazi by Antifa. And also you have groups like Take 'Em Down Nola, who went and put the Herman Wallace sticker that looked kind of like a New Orleans street sign over the Jeff Davis Parkway street sign at the corner of Irado and Jeff Davis. So basically, Herman Wallace was one of the Angola Three. And Mr. Herman Wallace, who Take 'Em Down Nola, our opposition, wants to basically they want to put him as a street name, right? Well, anyway, he's a cop killer. He's scum.
It's just it's an in your face screw you is what they're saying.
Basically, yeah. So, I mean, and then, so for the future, going forward, in reference to bringing the monuments back, I really don't know. It already happened in the past with the Liberty Monument, where they took it away and they brought it back. So, I mean, maybe, but there's not a chance, I don't think, because of Mitch Landrieu and what he's done and what he started all across the South. They're trying to take away our heritage and everything like that.
Yeah, we're a different people. This isn't the people that grew up in New Orleans, going to Fort Pike, going to Pontchartrain Beach, going to. I remember those days and proudly being shown all of these things by my parents. Took us around on purpose to let our heritage be known, and we're not that people anymore.
No.
It's gone with the wind, man.
No, absolutely. I'm gonna say this real quick. Give the mic back to you. Yeah, you brought up. Bringing up being able to bring the monuments back, and even if Landrieu gets out, they're only allowing 3 mainstream candidates to be brought out man, I can't talk. They're only allowing 3 candidates: LaToya Cantrell, Michael Bagnaris, and Charbonnet, to go to these debates. So independents like Frank Skurlock and
Nathan Lawrenson,
Mr. Beer,
Ed
Bruschi,
right.
They're just being excoriated and kicked out of the conversation,
virtually ignored.
And LaToya Cantrell, she's a global.
Walt Isaacson has handpicked LaToya Cantrell. Simple as that.
So go ahead, Machiavelli. Get back to it.
So then another interesting thing moving forward, guys, is the redoing of the infrastructure of Bourbon Street from Canal Street to Dumaine. Okay, now with that. Basically, Mayor Landrieu gave out a no-bid multi-million-dollar contract to Hard Rock Construction on LNA Road in Metairie to redo Bourbon Street over an 8-month period. Now, the Landrieu concrete and cement industry's trucks have been seen numerous times on Bourbon Street supplying construction materials to Hard Rock. So, basically, the Landrieu Concrete Company is owned by Mitch's first cousin, Renee Landrieu. So, basically, whose playbook is this play out of? No other than Ray Nagin. This is an old school move. And also, another important quote that I want to say is more important, it would remove a potential abuse that has been the scourge of all incumbent mayors in recent times, the temptation for an outgoing administration to overspend in the first 4 months of its last budget year, leaving the new mayor and council drastically short of cash as they take office. So basically, with Landrieu arranging the remaining in office until Jazz Fest 2018 to host the tricentennial fireworks party, we're screwed, and we just need to figure out a way to stop that. And a way to stop that is to go to SaveNolaHeritage.org. And if you're a registered voter in Orleans Parish, you can go ahead and download and print out the actual petition, sign it, and then send it in because they need 10,000 wet signatures.
Absolutely. Everybody needs to go, do that. Will it make a difference? Probably not, but at least you're trying something.
Well, Nathan, how many times does your leaders have to ignore you or refuse your request before some action is taken? Isn't it in our Declaration of Independence, some paraphrase where the king has abused his powers and they actually wrote out what he did, putting troops in people's homes, and the phraseology goes on to say, after repeated attempts to petition our government for legal redress, when you're just refused or ignored, and you're supposed to be in a republic, what alternative is left to the populace? Machiavelli, what, in your opinion?
Well, there's really no alternatives that are left. I mean, it's all about total domination and total control. We're all witnessing revisionist history right here, right now, as conservatives and everything, and it's a crazy time to be alive, is all,
Indeed.
So, I mean, basically, you have people like Malcolm Suber who are leading all these millennials, all these transplants who have taken over the Bywater area, and basically, he is telling all of them, as identifying as the Workers' Party, that they will redo
Inherit the
everything.
earth.
Yeah.
We got 1 minute left, guys.
The non-workers are the worker party.
Will inherit the earth.
Right, yeah.
You know, I read somewhere that Malcolm Suber actually got kicked out of the Communist Party because he was too communist. He was it was too radical.
That is true.
And this is the guy who was, molding the young people's minds.
Well, Mr. Machiavelli, look, we got 30 seconds. How can people contact you or get information from you, social media? What's your contacts and maybe websites or any information like that?
On Instagram, it's Restore the West, and on Facebook, it is Niccolo Bernardo Machiavelli, just how the old spelling is. And I'm going to go ahead and jam out to some Johnny Horton right now.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Listen,
Thanks
great
for
show
having me.
tonight. Mr. Machiavelli, thanks for coming in studio. We'll be back next week, Battle Noise Radio.